Thanks, Senator Hawley. I want to talk about specific problems that apparently continue to exist. Have you read or heard recently about rolls that the MAX has suffered?
I have, sir.
What's the story?
Well, Senator, it's the NTSB is involved, and they will investigate the hypotheses that we're aware of will not involve the manufacturer of the airplane.
Well, what is the cause of those rolls? It's the same phenomenon that occurred before that Ethiopian airplane crash.
No, sir, and I have to let the NTSB do their work. They will conclude it.
What about fasteners improperly used?
Yes, Senator. So clarification on the fasteners. These are fasteners that are common to the side of body for the 787. All the fasteners are installed. All the fasteners are torqued to the proper torque specifications. The subtlety here is they were torqued using the head side of the fastener as opposed to the nut side. And so we are redoing the analysis to understand if that has any safety implications. All three of the submodels of the 787s will be analyzed. The first submodel was analyzed.
So there may be a problem there.
It's completely acceptable. The first submodel analysis shows completely acceptable. The torque is the right torque.
Completely acceptable or unacceptable?
Acceptable.
What does that mean?
It's fine the way it is. The torque is applied properly. All the fasteners are installed.
Well, that doesn't give me a lot of reassurance that they're not installed properly, but it's acceptable.
The fasteners are all installed. All the fasteners are torqued to the appropriate torque specifications. The specification asked that the torque be applied on the head side of the fastener, on the nut side of the fastener, and they were applied to the head side of the fastener. It's just a matter of what's being held and what's being turned. So all the fasteners are there, and the torque is appropriate.
Maybe you can tell us about the causes of that Southwest airline rolling because damage was done to the plane, correct?
Senator, it is under NTSB investigation. As Dave mentioned, we are pulling together the data that we have, and it does not indicate that there is anything that is of fleet concern here. We think there's a unique circumstance around this particular airplane that has nothing to do with design or manufacturing. But we'll need the NTSB to complete their investigation and share.
What are you going to do about it?
Well, we're supporting the NTSB and we're supporting the customer with.
You're not looking into it yourselves?
We are, Senator. We're supporting the NTSB investigation with our design resources.
Aren't you alarmed that airplanes manufactured by Boeing are rolling in this very dramatic and potentially unsafe way, doing damage to the planes that you've manufactured?
Senator, the Dutch roll is an oscillation due to the rudder actuator responding to a particular circumstance that it's in. We think it's an individual circumstance for this airplane that thus far, given the data we have, indicates that this airplane underwent some unique circumstance that is particular to this airplane, and it doesn't give us any cause for concern for the fleet.
I'm told that the MAX engine's anti-icing system can't be kept on for more than 5 minutes in dry air without risking a potentially catastrophic engine failure. Is that true?
Senator, it's a particular situation where you're at altitude on a particularly hot day, which is a very, very remote circumstance, and you've kept the MAX anti-ice on, or the engine anti-ice on, for too long of a period. That gives rise to a probabilistic exposure of some deterioration of the inlet. It's when we look at it through our cost process, we conduct a functional hazard analysis and a fault tree. We've established the probability of that occurring. It's extremely remote, At the same time, we're taking all efforts to redesign that. But again, because of its extremely remote probability, we believe the fleet is safe.
Where I'm going with these questions is that there seems to be a kind of laundry list of incidents caused by a series of manufacturing or design problems, and the company isn't grappling with them in the very proactive and vigorous way that the public would expect when you're putting airplanes at risk.
Senator, every single item that comes out of our 24/7 fleet monitoring goes through our continued operational safety program and is individually assessed through a rigorous analytical set of processes that is overseen by the FAA. Safety determinations are made on a continual basis, and those safety determinations are again overseen by the FAA using their independent analyses for corroboration.
Well, again, we come back to what you're telling the FAA, which was fraudulent when that deferred prosecution agreement was reached, and may now again result in prosecution in unrelated instances of what you've told the FAA. Let me ask you, Mr. Calhoun, have you heard that non-conforming parts are installed in any Boeing airplanes?
We have a process, Senator, to ensure that no non-conforming part is
But
in an
two
airplane.
whistleblowers have told us that likely non-conforming, meaning damaged or defective parts, were installed. And at the very least, they were hidden from the FAA.
Senator, I read that complaint this morning. I do know and had followed up that the speak up had been received in our system and that the quality team has been and is looking. So more than happy to get back to you on that. I apologize. I'm personally not involved in it. I just saw it this morning.
I would hope that you would. You don't know of a single instance of any discipline for retaliation. Is that correct? That's what you said earlier.
I said that we have taken action on people who we have determined to have retaliated, but I did not have the number.
Can you tell me about one?
I'm not going to tell you about one, sir. We have a process. It works.
Well, I beg to differ. It's not working.
Okay.
It's not working. You know it's not working. Let me tell you, because you've read this deposition, about what John Barnett said about one employee. Question: Mr. Barnett, are you aware of ever hearing about any employees being physically assaulted for raising safety complaints? Answer: Barnett answering, actually, I have heard of one. The name is blank, was telling me about a time that she was dealing with, the other person's name is also redacted, and he was pushing her to work outside the procedures. And she told me that he actually put his arm against her and pushed her against the wall and was pointing to her in her face and telling her to get on board, and this was a good old boys program or something like that. End of quote. You read that?
Yes, sir.
Did you look into it?
So this happened a very long time ago.
Well,
Yes.
Did you look into it?
And it happened a long time ago. I started in 2020. It's horrible. It's a tragic end. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I understand your feelings of regret about it, but what's needed here is action. There are a series of whistleblower complaints. There are a collection of retaliation actions, and there's been no action on them. Now, you submitted a plan that sounds very much like the 90-day plan or the plan that the company submitted previously. I'm going to put up the 90-day plan that you submitted. This is what you agreed with the FAA to do in 2015. I'm just taking 4 examples. Your 90-day plan basically recycles those ideas. I asked you, my very first question, has the company done enough? I submit the answer based on this chart, and the comparison is the company's done virtually nothing. It's making more of the same promises. It's recycling the same old ideas without having taken action. You disagree?
Yeah, Senator, again, I started in 2020. I don't think I've ever taken, or our eyes the wrong word. We as a leadership team could have taken any more dramatic steps than we've taken. Howard described what has happened within the engineering function. We stood it up on its own. We created important design practices that would address directly the development and design of every next airplane so that we would never design an MCAS again. And it would include a very comprehensive look at human factors, pilots, all those interactions. We hired 60 pilots, experienced pilots, to travel the world and meet with our experienced and least experienced airlines to talk to them about what they need to see in our airplanes. The list goes on. The safety management system basically started and designed and attached to the cost program that Howard discussed, which is to listen to every airplane every day, every second as one takes off, so that we can hear and then evaluate and support our customers to improve safety every day. And safety does get better every day.
We mentioned earlier that only one person has been prosecuted as a result of the criminality, in my view, criminality, in the Justice Department's view, criminality, that was involved in the 2 crashes, 2018, 2019. The basic practice, the modus operandi, it seems to me, of the company is to shift blame downward, to, in effect, scapegoat workers rather than the management team responsible ultimately for conducting the company. Recently, in fact, just weeks ago, when a Boeing employee spoke up about the falsification of records for tests performed during the assembly of a 787 in South Carolina, this was speaking up about falsification of records to the FAA, a violation of that deferred prosecution agreement. In effect, Boeing blamed the employee and said, and I'm quoting from the letter that Boeing submitted to the FAA, quote, "The employee misconduct was so obviously outside the bounds of clearly articulated and broadly understood company requirements that their intent should not be imputed to the company." The same letter says that the root cause of the falsification has not been determined. You familiar with that letter?
Senator, this issue, I will start with the employee who observed a practice and raised his hand and brought it to our attention. A team of very qualified engineers, because this was not a simple determination to come to, within a day, got to the determination that this employee misrepresented his work directly. That is unacceptable, and disciplinary actions will be handed out, and it'll be quick.
But what about the managers who may have known about it? Have you begun an investigation?
Oh, there will be a line right up with respect to the managers, but this was a misrepresentation.
I'm going to ask the ranking member whether he has any other questions. You know, we are running out of time, and you have promised to get back to us with information that I think this committee needs and deserves. But will you also commit to respond fully and transparently to the request for documents that we've made instead of what you and I have agreed is gobbledygook?
Yeah, Senator, I will look hard at that. The answer is yes.
I'm going to take you at your word. You know, I think what this hearing has shown is we all on this panel want Boeing to do well and succeed. But that requires a course correction. It requires a correction of that broken safety culture, more than just about a single aircraft or single factory or individual. And I think that there has to be a change in more than a single manager. Wouldn't you agree that a team of managers has to be held responsible for this kind of losing record?
Senator, we have made a very significant number of changes, starting with the tragedies that occurred. We have a whole new board, engineering representatives on that board, airplane experience on that board, safety on that board, replaced every single leader across the executive leadership team between 2020 and where we are today. And then we took actions with respect to the Alaska accident, specific to the MAX 737 production program. I do believe in accountability. I do believe in it. And even it's hard to administer, but I believe in it. And we have been working hard at that.
Would you agree that there has to be more accountability?
Senator, I am doing everything in my power. If I agreed, then I would have done something more. I have done everything I believe is required. I am leaving. Yes, sir.
At the end of this year.
Yes.
But people in the current board or management structure, in effect, are filling positions that are open, same individuals. Wouldn't you agree there has to be more accountability and a different team?
Not the same individuals. We try to select people who know a lot about airplanes. We are in an industry where domain expertise matters a lot. And so we do prefer to choose from within, but we also do our best to match the skill sets with the opportunity at hand. Right now, the immediate opportunity, and I think your committee has helped us point this out, along with everything we've learned in the stand downs and accident, engagement, 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 trust with our workforce. That I understand. And the people that we have selected to fill these jobs were based on that spec and that spec alone.
Well, I think that you've certainly demonstrated that you can talk about these changes, but making the changes may well require a different team. And accountability is very important for the past, but also going forward for the future. So I look forward to hearing more from Boeing. I look forward to hearing from the airlines, as the ranking member has suggested. And we are going to pursue many of these issues because they are a matter of life and death. And they have profound consequences to our economy and to the traveling public. And again, I want to thank everyone in the audience, particularly those who have been personally affected And I think we want to continue to encourage whistleblowers to come forward and protecting them from retaliation. The committee record will remain open for 10 days, and the hearing is adjourned.
Thank you, Senator.